You have sliced open a cardboard delivery box and assumed it arrived via a clean, invisible digital algorithm. But you are completely wrong. The terrifying truth of your modern convenience actually begins 70 years ago, inside a deafening naval shipyard. Engineers birthed a 3-story combustion machine designed solely for brutal, perpetual survival. Today, this machine is a hostage, heavily guarded by a single, terrified human engineer locked in a 90-day marathon. But the reason this heavy fuel engine cannot ever be allowed to stop will completely change how you view your own daily survival. For decades, global trade moved at a painfully slow pace, limited entirely by the physical breaking point of a human dockworker. But the invention of the standardized shipping container instantly created a ruthless mathematical demand to move thousands of tons at once. Corporations demanded floating steel leviathans capable of carrying the equivalent of entire cities across the Pacific Ocean. A single modern vessel now carries enough cargo to fill an unbroken line of semi-trucks stretching 40 miles long. But pushing this apocalyptic weight through dense ocean water requires an unfathomable amount of raw kinetic energy. Marine architects were forced to build mechanical monsters, resulting in the largest, most violent internal combustion engines in human history. You are looking at a brutal machine that weighs 2,000 tons, where a single piston is the size of a mature oak tree. When this mechanical heart fires, it generates over 100,000 horsepower and violently shakes the entire steel hull. But the sheer scale of the engine is not the problem. The true nightmare begins with what this terrified engineer is forced to feed it. A standard automotive engine only operates for a few hours at a time and burns highly refined, clean gasoline. But to keep global shipping incredibly cheap, this marine engine is strictly forced to burn heavy bunker fuel. This toxic byproduct is the absolute bottom of the petroleum barrel, essentially behaving exactly like thick, liquid asphalt. This forces the engineer to continuously boil and pressurize this toxic sludge just to make it thin enough to combust. For 90 straight days, this single human being is trapped in a 120-degree steel box, manually managing a controlled explosion. The constant vibration slowly deteriorates the engineer's nervous system, while the atomized oil coats their lungs in a permanent film. The mechanical noise is a physical force that violently vibrates human organs, creating an inescapable psychological prison. They are locked in a metallic box thousands of miles from any hospital, entirely responsible for keeping a volatile volcano from erupting. When a sudden oceanic storm hits, the ship requires maximum power to avoid capsizing in the crushing, icy waves. But the engine is already choking on boiling tar, forcing the engineer to push the machine past its absolute red line. If a single piston ring cracks under this immense pressure, the fuel solidifies, and the engine violently seizes in the dark. The sheer mechanical stress is enough to drive any engineer mad, but the true threat to your own life is entirely existential. But here is what nobody knew. Decades ago, our supply chains had built-in safety nets because massive domestic warehouses held months of backup inventory. But Wall Street realized that storing goods cost money, aggressively demanding a ruthless system called just-in-time manufacturing. Corporations completely eliminated domestic storage, deciding that the massive cargo ship itself would become the floating warehouse. We chained our entire survival to this spinning propeller, leaving the terrified engineer with absolutely zero room for mechanical error. You saw this exact nightmare unfold when a single powerless ship drifted sideways and completely blocked the Suez Canal. That single engine failure caused a mechanical heart attack for the entire world, stalling a devastating daily average of $10 billion in global trade. If the chief engineer's engine shuts down for even 12 hours, ports instantly back up and freight trains sit completely empty. Within exactly 1 week, the meticulously stocked grocery store shelves in your neighborhood will be completely stripped bare. We are not an advanced digital society. We are a fragile iron society, entirely dependent on a hostage machine begging for rest. The next time a cardboard delivery box arrives quietly on your front porch, remember the terrifying mechanical reality that put it there. Your seamless modern life is entirely dependent on an exhausted human forcing a screaming piece of iron to endure the impossible. But this iron hostage fighting the ocean is only the first half of the brutal journey required to bring you your goods. Once those massive containers finally hit dry land, the truck drivers who haul them are forced into a completely different, ruthless digital prison. If you want to see how this invisible electronic tracking system forces drivers to break the law just to survive, click the video on your screen right now.